Airbnb just released their latest quarterly figures, a very good quarter by the company. A big contrast compared to where we were 3 months ago. 3 months ago, the quarter was okay, not great, guidance was fine, the stock went down. Actually, the stock was close to the same level it was 3 months ago before they reported earnings, and at the time of making this video, the stock is up 14 to 15%. Now with Airbnb, it's true that growth has been slowing down, but what's important here is to look at free cash flow. And free cash flow margin for 2024 sits at 40%. Okay, 40%. This is a free cash flow generating machine, and we are going to see growth reaccelerate. Also, their most popular and their, let's call it the most important market, which is North America, is going to experience quite some big events in the coming years, with the World Cup in 2026 being one of them, and then the Olympics 2 years after that. Now, during the earnings call, they talked a little bit more about their plans of adding new businesses to the whole Airbnb brand, which is something that they talked about 3 months ago. Brian talked about that during some interviews as well, launching 1 or 2 businesses annually that could generate over $1 billion each. So we're going to discuss all of that in this video. I'm still a shareholder of Airbnb. This is one of those companies that, to be honest, is just a beautiful business that is expanding and growing, and not a lot of people are talking about that. I know myself included, I usually only do the earnings reports and calls when it comes to Airbnb. I think I do that with a lot of companies. But anyways, if you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, really appreciate that. If you wanted to do a Roku or a Coinbase earnings report review, let me know down in the comment section below. If you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description. Any pinned comment with the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. So let's start off with the main numbers here. Revenue increased to $2.5 billion, that's up 12% year over year. Net income of $461 million with a 19% margin. Adjusted EBITDA margin of 31%, and adjusted EBITDA reached $765 million. Then free cash flow for Q4 was $458 million with a margin of 18%. We just said it was 40%, yes, for the whole year. Which you can see right here, free cash flow for the fiscal year 2024, $4.5 billion and a 40% margin. Revenue increased 12% year over year to reach $11.1 billion, and net income of $2.6 billion with a 24% margin. As for the other 2 key metrics, which are GBV or gross booking value, that increased 13% year over year to $17.6 billion for Q4, or $81.8 billion for the whole of fiscal year 2024. As for night and experiences booked, that has increased 12% as well to 111 million, which has accelerated, which is always nice to see, because for the fiscal year 2024, that has only grown by 10%. Now, if we zoom out a little bit and we look at where they generate their revenue from, as you can see, North America, their biggest market, and as you can also see, the September quarter is usually the best one for obvious reasons. Then you've got the June quarter, December, and March. So basically, the colder it gets, the worse it gets for them. But what's interesting here is if you look at total GBV, so gross booking values, it has been always the same, like it's a reverse staircase. Reverse if you usually go from left to right. In this case, we go from right to left. As you can see, March is usually where it peaks. And then June, September, December, it goes down, but then we go back up. And as you can see, we always go back up more and more. Even after we go down, we go back up more and more. Average daily rates, about the same, peaking in the March quarter and then coming down. Now, I'll ask you in the comment section below, when you travel, whether it's for business or pleasure, or maybe it's different scenarios, of course, what do you usually choose? Do you usually choose a hotel, or do you usually choose an Airbnb? Let me know down in the comment section below. Then, with regards to the most important comments, I think that were mentioned. So they said the following: there's going to be more upgrades this year and faster than before, with fewer engineers working on it, which is basically means what we've seen with other companies, doing more with less, being more efficient. They still expect to launch 1 to 2 businesses annually that could generate over $1 billion in incremental revenue. Then, he does like to give the example of Amazon. Amazon started with books, but obviously it evolved into something much bigger. And the same thing here, a place to stay is a small part of the overall picture. We've talked about that in the past. I started to speculate, right? I still believe that First of all, they need to launch a membership, a reward system in Airbnb, a way for people to, you know what, we stayed with Airbnb a couple of times. Now we've got some rewards, some coins that we can spend. Maybe we get a 5% reduction. Maybe we get experiences on the house, whatever. But at least it's a way for people to come back to the app, right? With bookings, they have the Genius program. I think I'm already level 2 or 3 or something like that because I'm a genius, obviously. But yeah, I think this is something that Airbnb definitely needs to do. Plus, I've said this, I think a year or two ago, I think the concierge service for Airbnb is just a no-brainer, right? Right now, you go on Airbnb, you just book a place. But I think that now, especially with Gen AI and all of that, it should be a one-stop shop. If they want it to be, of course, bookings can do it themselves or some others as well. But Airbnb being a more tech-oriented company, I think it should be a given, right? You open the app, usually the app should already know who you are, where you stayed before, so they know your preferences. But maybe, I don't know, a chatbot pops up and it asks you, okay, what type of vacation do you want to have? Or what business trip is this going to be? And then you just explain it and it books everything from your house to the place and back, which goes to the next thing, because this is what they talked about a little bit, partnerships, right? They never really worked with partnerships. And Brian also said that right now, users usually open the app, a couple of times a year. They want it to be a couple of times a week. I don't know how that's going to happen, but okay. And then the last thing here is advertising is not a matter of if, but a matter of when, and that will not be for this year. This is also something that we've touched on a couple of years ago. It's just a no-brainer because everybody does it, so why not? But going back to that one-stop shop, that concierge service with partnerships. So imagine they integrate, I don't know, Uber or Lyft, right? So when you order your vacation, you automatically will get assigned an Uber ride or a Lyft ride that will take you to the airport. You will also have your tickets booked if that's what you want. If you need a flight, if you need just the taxi to go from one place to the other, that will just be it. Then with groceries, also same thing, partnerships maybe with DoorDash, Uber Eats, and all of that should be integrated, in my opinion, in the Airbnb app. With partnerships, of course, all of it still branded as the Airbnb app, all inside the app. To me, in my eyes, this is just a no-brainer, right? You go in, you say what you want, and the agents, the Gen AI agents, basically do everything that you want. You can review it, of course, make some changes, but at the end of the day, you want this to be a one-stop shop. You open the app, you do everything that you need to do, and you have it all. Your Uber from the house to the airport, your flight, the airport to the country that you're going to. Then at that airport, you have an Uber waiting for you that takes you to the Airbnb. The Airbnb has already food and beverages available to you, or a DoorDash driver or whatnot is going to come a couple of hours after you've arrived. And then maybe you have a guide or, I don't know, some tickets to some sporting events that are waiting for you inside the app as well, in partnership with Ticketmaster or whatnot. Maybe I'm crazy, but to me, this would make this company be worth way, way more than what it is today. Maybe they're already working on this, and if not, maybe they should. Let me know if I'm crazy or if you think that this is just a genius idea. Moving on to a couple of extra things, interest income. So for 2024, interest income was $818 million compared to $721 million. And for the quarter, that was 183 compared to $192 million. Of course, with the high interest rates, that's always a nice thing to have. Shares outstanding, because, well, they generate quite a lot of free cash flow. You can see that shares outstanding year after year is coming down quite nicely. And then if we look at outlook. So for Q1 2025, they expect to deliver revenue of $2.23 to $2.27 billion, representing year-over-year growth of 4 to 6%, or 7 to 9% excluding the impacts of FX. By the way, with regards to the impact of FX, which is something that we've been hearing across the board this earnings season, if the dollar does get weaker from here, most, if not all, of the companies that gave us guidance for the year that would be impacted by FX would comfortably beat that, just so you're aware of that. Continuing here and addressing the low growth here, 4 to 6%, They also said that excluding the impacts of calendar factors and FX headwinds, they anticipate revenue year-over-year growth would be 10 to 12%. So that's a bit better. They also expect year-over-year growth of nights and experience booked in Q1 to be relatively stable compared to Q1 2024 after excluding the leap day, which contributed to approximately 1%. For the full year 2024, they intend to continue to deliver improving economics and strong free cash flow generation of our core business while investing in growth opportunities. Specifically, they plan to invest $200 to $250 million towards launching and scaling new businesses to be introduced later this year. Inclusive of those investments, they expect to deliver a full year adjusted EBITDA margin of at least 34.5%, maintaining a strong track record of profitability without compromising our growth initiatives. We anticipate a more significant contribution to revenue growth as these businesses scale over the coming years. And so right now what we will see is, well, the stock being above that downtrend line that basically started towards the end of 2021. Now we were higher back here in March of 2024, closer to $170. Let's see if we can go and challenge that. RSI is going to be quite high. Don't know if it's going to be overbought just yet. But what's interesting with Airbnb is that RSI has been flat since, well, September of 2024 basically, and the stock, well, has stayed around the 200-day moving average, as you can see on the weekly, for quite a long time. Then the last couple of weeks, we've seen a solid momentum, 3 nice big green candles. And then, of course, now we've got that huge jump from the earnings report. So all in all, again, I'm a happy shareholder, happy customer of Airbnb as well. I do have to say that I do stay at a lot of hotels because sometimes I do travel alone. So an Airbnb is sometimes more expensive, which yes, is an issue, is probably one of the things that makes you switch to hotels, right? Because it's true, when you go with a family, then maybe taking an Airbnb financially makes sense. But sometimes if you travel alone or maybe even with two, a hotel room is maybe financially more interesting. So all in all, good quarter, good commentary. I'm very excited to see what new businesses they're going to launch in the next coming years. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, all of that, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.